Split tones. Split tones are an effect on the saxophone that are kind of like multiphonics but a little bit different. They are taking a fundamental and using voicing. And if you haven't watched my video about voicing, make sure to check that out. That's perhaps the most important video that I've made on this topic. We use voicing to split the tone and create a whole bunch of different notes, clashing partials within the sound. In the introductory video, I talked about the saxophone being unstable and kind of a bit chaotic because it's conical. This is one of those effects that really highlights that part of the saxophone. The split tone is basically setting off all of those different partials at once, and you can kind of hear them beating against one another. Split tones work best in the lower register of the saxophone. The higher you go up, the less consistent they're going to be, and the more difficult they are going to be to get out. For example, on the tenor saxophone, I can consistently get the split tone to come out of each of the chromatic notes from written low B flat up until about A flat, so minor seventh. As it goes up, some notes are possible, some notes aren't. It just depends on the saxophone and the player at the time. In the beginning of this video, you could hear I was kind of moving through the split tone. That was possible because it's on the lowest note and it's a really rich resonant fundamental, and there's lots of things to work with in there. But as you kind of work up the saxophone, those options will diminish, and some notes will only have one little cluster that you kind of have to aim for with the voicing. When I talk about aiming for, what I mean is there's kind of a note that you have that you'll voice that will bring out different parts of the split tone. For example, with these three notes as my guide tones. There's three very different colors, and again on that low B flat split tone, written low B flat, there are a lot of possibilities. As you work up, there are fewer, but they are still possible. For example, here's a written G and G sharp. A way to notate them is to have a big black bar on the top of the note and write split tone, and that kind of tells the performer that you want a maximum of partials, whatever they can get out basically of the saxophone. If you want to be a little bit more precise, you could work with the saxophone player and write guide tones or write the black bar up to where you want the sound to stop. If you really delve into it, you could work with the saxophone player to find guide tones for each of the different split tones and go from note to note so they have a guide of where to go, or maybe they can do that for you. On certain notes you can even gliss between them, but that's a little bit unstable, and you should really check with your local saxophone player before using that technique in a piece. I'll play some examples on the different saxophones and you can see how it sounds. The big difference will be between these four saxophones that go down to a written B flat and the baritone saxophone that goes down to a written A. Like I said in the introductory video, the fact that the baritone saxophone sometimes has a low A extension changes the fundamental resonant qualities of the instrument, and so things like split tones have a very different color, and you'll hear that when I play the split tones on the baritone saxophone. On the higher saxophones, this effect is really unstable and it's much more difficult. I can only consistently get them out of the really low notes on the soprano saxophone. consistently on the sopranino saxophone suppressing. Maybe it's got something to do with the setup. But again, only on the lowest 3 or 4 notes. So as you can see, it's a lot more flexible on the baritone saxophone. Whether that's got to do with the fact that it's lower or that it has this A extension, I'm not sure, but either way, it's a lot more flexible and easier to get out on the baritone saxophone than the other saxophones. Thanks for stopping by. I hope this was helpful. Remember to check out the other videos on my channel for more information. Subscribe to my channel, like this video, comment any questions you have.